The speaker applies the be verb or to describe the condition of the listeners as the subject on the premise that the listeners exist. In the first type of clause, we studied that the definition of the be verb describes the existence of the subject. The condition of the subject is described by the be verb as well, on the premise that the subject exists. With the description of the adjective happy, to practice the role of the subjective complement, the definition of the be verb is converted from describing the existence of the subject to describe the condition of the subject. The definition is switched according to the composition of the clause. So we can understand that the definition of the be verb conveys the basic and essential description about the existence of the subject to more specific the condition of the subject. The conversion of the definition that the be verb conveys is an example to prove that the be verb includes the trait as an adverb. The essential and basic description to the specific description to describe the condition of the subject means that the definition of the be verb is differentiated into two: the existence of the subject and the condition of the subject. This is the reason why the subjective complement in the clause that the be verb is applied is differentiated into an indication and a description. Without a context from the definition of the verb, the listeners can be confused about the reason why the speaker arranges the indication. The definition of the be verb is switched to describe the subject, with the adjective, and to define the subject into another indication. The be verb describes the condition, and the be verb defines the existence of into another indication. The speaker, there is another clause, you're a pilot. The speaker who considers a clause shared in the conversation with the listeners to be propagated in the point of the time to include the present and the future sets the number of the listeners as plural. Most of the time, the speaker indicates the listeners as plural because the clause shared in the conversation at the present is supposed to be spreaded. The clause can be spreaded at the present when the speaker states the clause. or the clause can be propagated from the initial listener to the other listeners after the conversation with the speaker is finished. The subjective complement, a pilot reveals, the subjective complement, a pilot reveals the information about the subject as singular. The speaker at the present when the clause shared in the conversation is being propagated. This means that the speaker indicates listener and the other tentative listeners are specified by indefinite article that is a determiner all. The speaker aims at each listener who hears the clause as the subject indicated by the noun pilot. The subject is unspecified, but whoever hears this clause means that the subject is the pilot. There is another clause. The cake looks nice. Beside the be verb to describe the existence of the subject to the condition of the subject, the intransitive verb looks is applied to describe the condition of the subject. The speaker applies the intransitive verb looks to describe the subject, the cake, based on the condition that the speaker himself identifies. Because this clause is stated with the intransitive verb, we can consider the relationship between the speaker and the subject, the cake. The speaker is the subject who sees the object that is the subject of this clause, the cake. So the speaker as the subject does not reveal in the clause, but the speaker states the clause. The speaker applies the intransitive verb looks to describe the condition of the subject, the cake, from the perception, and the adjective nice to describe the condition of the subject, the cake.